Today on Mother Mayhem. You are losing your relationship with yourself here. A theme you're all going to be hearing me talk a lot about in the coming year is not to abandon yourselves. I want you all, in moments of indecision, to start asking yourselves, what is the decision that makes it so I don't have to abandon myself? Welcome back to Mother Mayhem, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast for Daughters. I'm your host, Heather Gray, and today I'm walking a listener through a conversation so many of you have with yourselves. How do you know when it's time to go no contact? How do you know when that enough is enough button has really been pressed? I want to introduce you to Sarah. I've named her after Sarah Bareilles, who I just saw in Waitress. She wrote the music for the Broadway play, and then she did this limited release of it in theaters. I don't know if any of you got to see it or if you're a Broadway nerd like I am, but for me, it was just this pitch perfect work of art. And I'm really glad that I didn't miss it. And of course, I can't mention this without directing you to the incredible ballad that she has. It's called She Used to Be Mine. And when I tell you, I have gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of her singing it and watching other people sing it. So many covers. I've decided that my favorite version is the one that she did at the Hollywood Bowl. And if I'm able to remember, I'm going to include a link for that in the show notes because I shouldn't be the only one who knows that that exists. But for now, let's hear from our listener, Sarah, in her own words, and I'm going to find you on the other side. I'm 26 years old and I'm listening to your podcast, Mother Mayhem, from Saskatchewan, Canada. I totally nerded out on that, Sarah. I just have to tell you. I am incredibly thankful to have found your podcast and to know that I'm not alone. 3 years ago, I stumbled upon the realization that I was in an enmeshed relationship with my covert narcissistic mother. This whole realization seemed to come at the same time. I had no clue what a covert narcissist was, nor did I know what an enmeshed relationship meant or how deep it could be. I started therapy, and my then boyfriend, now husband, has been so incredibly supportive, letting me navigate the pain, who I am, and what I want out of life. I worry that my story is too long to share, or that maybe most people don't share this much, but I'm facing my fear and reaching out to you anyways to hopefully find some answers about my current situation. Within the past 3 years, I've been able to set boundaries as well as seem to break the enmeshed relationship with my mom and still have a controlled, limited relationship with her. It was hard to navigate due to the fact that I have an older, special needs sister who lives with my parents a majority of the time, and if I wanted to have a relationship with her, then I would have to have contact with my mom more than I'd like. And I know that she played this situation to her advantage. Regardless, I'm proud of how I was able to navigate those situations, not without the help, of course, from my therapist and my husband. In the past year, my husband and I welcomed a beautiful baby boy into the world. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a traumatic experience, needing an emergency C-section, and my husband unexpectedly had to go back to work 3 days after our son's birth. With no close family members to help me recover from the surgery, my mother offered to come and stay and help with the baby until my husband was back from work. She was on her best behavior, and I felt that I had done enough groundwork and boundary setting that I could handle her coming to live with us for 5 days. Now, looking back, I see how incredibly vulnerable I was. I was hormonal, in survival mode after surgery, trying to navigate new motherhood, etc. reflecting back on that situation, I can see exactly where my mother crossed boundaries, got in my head, and got a very good read on who I had become after breaking the enmeshed cycle, even though she had claimed that she was wanting to have a better relationship with me. She also had claimed previously that she wanted to break the generational abuse cycle. At the time, all I could see was that she was being so selfless, almost heroic, because she dropped everything in her life to come and help me in such a hard time. Is that what a trauma bond is? I'm unsure and don't want to mislabel anything. Since she came to stay with me and baby, I have been incredibly close with her. She always seemed to respect boundaries, or if she did cross one, she would own it and admit to it. This created an incredible amount of trust on my end, and I truly thought she had changed. After a few recent events with my mom, I feel as though I've been woken from a deep sleep. I've been looking back on this past year at all the times my boundaries were not only crossed, but stomped on. And every decision I have made has been made with my mom in mind. Every event or thing I do, I seem to need my mother's permission in one way or another. And my mother has been in contact with me constantly. I've stepped back completely, having very limited contact with her in the past 2 weeks, and I feel as though I'm starting all over again. I feel shaky, like I need to learn who I am all over again, and I'm having issues even making small, everyday decisions while trying to navigate the anger and control my mother wanting to be in my life. My question in all of this is, how do you know when to have no contact completely? I don't want to make a mistake, but every time I get a text from her, or even at the thought of her, it disrupts my peace so much. And I feel as though I'm starting all over again, and I don't want to live this way for myself or family. My next question is, I feel as though my mother paid enough attention to me, to our situation, that she was able to manipulate me and find ways around my boundaries to get back into this enmeshed relationship. For example, the way she would openly cross a boundary, but then acknowledge it and make it right just to gain trust in me and keep the wool over my eyes. Is that possible, or am I overthinking the situation? Oh my goodness, everyone listening is being like, totally possible. This is what they do. This is the narcissist. This is what they do. I apologize for such a long-winded email. I've never done anything like this before, and I hope it's not inappropriate. Not at all, Sarah, not at all. Your podcast feels like a light at the end of a dark tunnel. I truly am enjoying and learning so much from you and your podcast, and it's helping me immensely knowing I'm not alone. Oh, Sarah. I'm so very glad you're here. You belong here. And as cliche as it might sound, that struggle is real, right? We so badly want to change the ending to our most painful stories that, of course, when your mom did the exact right thing in the exact right moment and then said all of the right things, you wanted to believe her. That is only made more true with your hormones raging and your husband away. Here's maybe where I can help you. I want to actually start, if it's okay with you, with your second question first. Here's what you said. I feel as though my mother paid enough attention to me and to our situation that she was able to manipulate me and find ways around my boundaries to get back into this enmeshed relationship. For example, the way she would openly cross a boundary and then acknowledge it and make it right just to gain trust in me and keep the wool over my eyes. Is this possible, or am I overthinking the situation? Remember, Sarah, what I've said about narcissists. When they can't get your attention positively, they're going to get it negatively. You needed your mom. She got to be the hero in your story. She could relish in that role, and she had you all to herself. I know you feel manipulated and tricked and hoodwinked. Cheapers. Clark is going to be like, really, Heather? Hoodwinked? It's such an old fashioned word. Yes, hoodwinked. Clark, keep it in. I like it. But Sarah, you're going to feel tricked and manipulated. Here's how I want you to consider thinking about this. It might comfort you and allow you to show yourself and your mom a little bit of grace. So, in my first private practice, what feels like a million years ago now, I had a client whose mother was super critical. My client at the time was in a really unhappy marriage, and she just wanted her mom to lean on. And she needed to hear from her mom that it was going to be okay, that she wasn't a failure. Her mom offered her money and financial support, but was rather matter of fact about the potential dissolution of my client's marriage. And my client was just so very crushed. She wanted to feel love. She wanted a hug. She wanted nurturance. What we worked on together is that her mom was emotionally limited, just as all of your moms are emotionally limited. This wasn't a choice her mom was making. It's not like her mom had this storage chest of nurturance available to her or this pot of encouragement in her back pocket and was choosing not to give it to my client. That's how it felt for my client, but that wasn't what was actually happening. What she needed was not who her mother was or what her mother was capable of. Her mom was able to make it possible for my client to leave by offering money. Financial support was how her mother was able to love her. Additionally, my client's mom was a really good gardener. I encouraged my client to have her mom come for the weekend to help her clean out her garden and plant things for spring. I encouraged her to keep the conversation light, neutral, and topical, to let her mother love her in the way that she could love her. So my client accepted financial assistance and help with her garden and tuned into the fact that her mom was limited. This is how her mom could love her, and she allowed her to take it. And that allowed her to take in the love that way, while also finding people in her inner circle who could offer more of the nurturing and encouraging and the support she needed. Sometimes, Sarah, the story we tell ourselves is that our mother needs can only be met by our mothers. But that isn't how it goes. We have needs. Our needs are non-negotiable. That doesn't make us needy. It makes us human. What our mother can't do, we find other people who can, and we intentionally apply that need getting met to healing the mother wound. Sarah, when you were helpless and needed everything, your mom was able to step up, show up, and deliver. You let her love you in the way that she could. That support was real. And I believe her too when she says she wants to break those generational curses. She's aware enough of the dynamic to know what she loses. Not every narcissistic mom has the ability to hold that awareness, but she does. Here's where she struggles, though. She can only do this so long as you need her entirely and completely. She can't let go. She can't allow you to be independent. She can't allow you to separate. She can't allow you to be building your own intimacy inside your own family with your son and husband. That's why she melted down. Because you need autonomy in your relationship with your mom, and she can't let you have it. She needs to be your most important person, and your natural, normal, healthy life doesn't allow for that. So if we use that analogy of my client, her mom was able to garden something that's useful for a good amount of the year. Her mom was able to offer support financially, which was helpful in that moment. The only way your mom is able to function is when you're back to a childlike state, and that is not possible if you want to be a healthy, functioning adult. The interactions make your skin crawl because she wants you to be her kid, but you need to be a mom of your own kid. She's not offering you any kind of middle here. She's not offering you a safe place or a safe place to land, and you are largely dysregulated around her. Your experience of her makes a lot of sense to me. So, your first question was, how do you know when to have no contact completely? I don't want to make a mistake, but every time I get a text from her or even at the thought of her, it disrupts my peace so much. And I feel as though I'm starting all over again, and I don't want to live this way for myself or my family. I'm so proud of you, Sarah, for listening to yourself and for paying attention to what is happening in your body when you have no contact with her. Your body is telling you, not this. This doesn't work for me. When you get a text from her, you're feeling dysregulated. It's that push-pull between your wise mind and your trauma brain. Wise mind knows that your mom only functions when she's the center of the universe and the hero. She stops being able to function when things return to a normal baseline. Your experience with her tells you that she's capable of adhering to boundaries and limits, but that adherence isn't coming from a place of awareness of or respect for your personal space. More so, she's like this trained dog who knows she won't get the treat unless she follows the rules, but knows that sometimes you crack under pressure or puppy dog eyes so that she acquiesces. And so you can see her puppy dog eyes and possibly end up relenting. What you're feeling in your body is that this dynamic isn't working for you. It isn't serving you. And I imagine forcing such a boundaried structure with her to maneuver in is exhausting. And it sounds like you're finding that it isn't worth it. Your relationship has become this game of you setting the boundaries and her waiting for the opening. That doesn't feel like love because it isn't love. That doesn't feel good for you because it isn't a good feeling. I believe you, Sarah. I know you're doubting yourself. I believe you. Everyone listening believes you. This isn't working for you. I think you've seen the lengths that you've had to go through to maintain a semblance of a relationship. And what I'm hearing you say is that you're doing this for your mom, but it isn't offering you very much anymore. I'm also hearing that the only way you've managed any semblance of peace is by considering your mother in those moments of decision. That isn't working. And you know that as soon as you stop, the house of cards you have with your mom is exhausting to maintain because you're the only one holding it up. So here's my take. Everyone has this image of going no contact as if it's Angela Bassett and waiting to exhale with flames shooting behind her as she sort of torches the house or the car down. That isn't really how it ever goes. More often than not, it's happening in a whisper, in silent withdrawal, or with a burst of energy that quickly runs to hide. So don't focus on your mom. Take the no contact question off your heart for a second. You are losing your relationship with yourself here. A theme you're all going to be hearing me talk a lot about in the coming year is not to abandon yourselves. I want you all, in moments of indecision, to start asking yourselves, what is the decision that makes it so I don't have to abandon myself? Right now, you're considering your mom in these moments. How do things shift if in these moments you ask yourself, what is most true for me right now? What do I need right now? What is the answer that returns me to myself? Then you choose that. Obviously, you know that doing so is going to elicit some kind of reaction from your mom. We're not going to hope that that isn't true. We're not going to pretend that confidence comes with an ability to tell your mom where to go and how to get there. We're going to do this because your relationship with your mom has you shaking no matter what you do. So if you're going to shake, best it be because you're turning your life into the direction you want it to go. Then you work on not telling your mom. She wants that closeness. She wants that contact. And you have been keeping the peace by giving her the appearance of the relationship she wants in the hopes that it will avoid her drama. But by doing that, you're abandoning yourself. See, there's that phrase again, abandoning yourself. We want to work on stopping that. So make the decisions that are best for yourself. Don't share the details of your life. Don't open yourself to her scrutiny. Have as much contact with her as you want to have. Your mom will very likely make noise. Remember, clear is kind. I keep stealing phrases from Brene Brown. That's her phrase too. What that looks like is you might find yourself saying something to your mom like, I know you disagree. I know you think X. I know you wish I would Y. I made the decision for me or my family, and I'm working on being okay with the fact that you disapprove. You're not explaining your decision. You're not defending it. You're making it and you're standing by it. Odds are your mom probably isn't going to be able to handle any of this. By living your life quietly and steadfast, she will see that her place in your life has diminished, that your values are shifting. And without saying so, you will be offering her an opportunity to choose, to support you and to stay connected, or to melt down and watch you move further away. By not taking care of your mom, by not preventing her meltdowns, by not catering to her point of view, you will come to see how very little she's actually capable of. And you will see what she might be capable of. Then you let her behavior determine what happens next. If she can't engage in relationship with you, she's showing you in her behavior everything you need in order to make the decision. She'll show you in her limitations. She'll show you that she knows the family history, but she's too enmeshed in it herself to leave it. Seeing what happens when you stop preventing her from being herself, when you stop preventing her limitations from being exposed, will help you find the decision you need, be it lower contact or no contact. This is the question you can all be asking yourselves. If I stop protecting my mother from herself, who does she become? If I stop choosing her over myself, who do I become? If I stop abandoning myself and instead turn to myself, what is the decision I need to make? What protects my peace? Then, whatever you need to do, you do it. I saw this really special poem on Instagram. The poet, and I'm totally going to butcher her name here, is Yulie K, Ullie dash Kaye. I'm going to link to it in the show notes. But the poem is entitled Bare Bones, and it reads like this. Hope is not always soft and lovely. She is not always cascading rivers and sunlit skies dancing. Hope knows there's work to be done. She is bare bones in deep waters. She is weary and weak. She is barely a glimmer. She shakes when she speaks. This is where hope lives, smothered in sweat, full of war, and on the verge of crumbling into the sea. Yet there she is, quietly breathing. So, friends, you do whatever you need to do, and you do it scared. You do it shaking. You do it softly, but you do it. These are impossible choices filled with so many rocks and so many hard places, but in between is where you find your breath, your truth, and yourself. You are all in this with a community of women around the world. I am in it with you too. Bye for now. I'm so grateful that you're here. You're right where you're supposed to be. At its heart, I'm hoping to use this show to build a community of women working together to heal from childhoods marked by maternal narcissism and emotional neglect. My goal for Mother Mayhem is that this show becomes an advice and mentoring driven show where you share your questions, struggles, and stories, and I offer you direction for healing and recovery. That can't happen without your contributions. I invite you to send a recorded voice memo or write in an email with your questions and things you're struggling with. You can always find me over at heather@daughtersnpd.com. To connect further, I invite you to find me over at Instagram and occasionally on TikTok at DaughtersNPD. If you know another woman who needs this conversation in her life, I'm going to ask that you share the show with her. You can help me get the word out with your reviews and social shares of the show, and I hope you'll consider doing so. Special thanks to Heather Clark for editing this show. She's in my head and knows what I meant to say when the words come out backwards. Thanks for your time today. I'm always in it with you. Bye for now.